Hey guys, okay, so I'm just trying to figure out a few things. Hey Al, how are you? We WhatsApp, but then we spend days not talking to each other on the WhatsApp. Hope all is good, doll. Okay, I see Zeldy, you're on. Give me a few. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to turn off these comments because no comments going on here for this live. It's distracting, and we are going to give Dr. Marks our full attention, and nobody is going to be able to comment. But if you are watching and you have something to say, and I'm on a little bit early because hopefully I'll bring on Dr. Marks around 9:15. We are going to have this. You see at the bottom of where it says where you can comment, there is like a bubble with a question mark in there. You can hit that and ask a question, and hopefully I will be able to ask that question live for you tonight. I will tell you, I don't know if you guys see what's going on here. I have all the many questions that you guys had put together. I have a good solid 20-25 questions that cover the gamut of what we want to speak to Dr. Marks about. What I want to do? I want to do... Yes, I must say I was on Farming in the City for a few minutes. I'm sad that it's coinciding with this because I would have loved to have caught it. Hopefully they'll get to save it and I'll get to take a look at it afterwards. As far as me saving this live, I'm going to do my best to have it saved. For some reason, it saves and then it gets deleted. And I don't know why. Yes, my phone is 100%. Thank you, Annette. It's 100%. Okay, I'm going to try to pin the comments. 1 second. Hold on. Why is this not working? I have to pin, right? I have to write who I'm doing. Doctor. Okay, 1 second. Let's write live with Doctor. Guys, if you have a question that you want to ask that you think I didn't ask, that you didn't have a chance to ask, I would say do it now before I turn off. Hold on. He's director of CBER. I just want to make sure I spell everything correctly because my spelling is off. This is just the technical stuff before we go. CBER. The FDA. Okay. No, it's not the FDS. It is the FDA. Oh, sugar. Of course, I misspelled it. All right, we got to do that one more time. Why? I have big fat fingers. Hold on. They're Peter Marks. 1 second. MD, Director of CBER of FDA. Yay. Okay, now I have to pin that so people know who I'm talking about. I don't know if it's going to actually see because I'm turning off comments. Yes, I'm turning off comments. Use the question box only. Let me just see here. Again, I told you I'm going to try to save the live. Okay, before Dr. Marks comes on, I'm going to and I'm going to wait a little bit still for people to come in. I'm going to put on an old childhood friend. I know her since she's about 6 years old, if not earlier. Zeldy Open, who was the person who was able to hook this up with Dr. Marks. Zeldy is a superwoman. She's actually the powerhouse behind CPI, which is the COVID Plasma Initiative. If you don't know what that is, she's going to talk about it a little bit more. But it is a life-saving treatment that they started right when COVID was, really killing a lot of our community. She got involved with it. She's the one who actually was instrumental in bringing it to the Jewish communities and getting the word out there. And it is where they take the plasma from somebody who had COVID, and then that plasma and the antibodies is a treatment that comes, and they put, I'm not technical, she's going to be technical, but this is a life-saving treatment that when you do have COVID and you are feeling sick with it, it's something that has to be given pretty right away, and it's available to you in the hospitals. I don't know if a lot of people know, but I actually know dear friends who are like family whose lives were saved with this CPI, with this infusion. And I really want her to talk about it, because you have to sort of sadly, and I don't know why, she's going to explain more, you sort of sadly have to fight to get it in the hospitals if you're sick. And I'm not sure why Zeldy will have to tell us, but I will tell you that the good friend that was saved, the doctor told his wife that if not for this treatment, I mean, you basically saved his life with this treatment, and she had to fight for it to be given, because I guess there are protocols or whatever, people didn't want to give it. I don't know exactly technical details. Zeldy hopefully will tell you more about it. Okay. I'm really praying, and I can't tell you how nervous I was an entire day about this live. I ate so much chocolate today that I'm hyper on chocolate because I'm just nervous. I'm nervous that this should just go well, that the purpose of it is to garner information. Okay, let's start this again. You see, I'm nervous. Okay, what I want to do here is garner information, ask the questions from somebody who's in the know, and nobody's more in the know about the vaccine than Dr. Marks, who's actually the head of the department that approves these vaccines. And the vaccine, I believe, is only available because he gave his stamp of approval. So the questions that we have, like, how does it affect us? If we have antibodies, do we still have to take it? What about kids? What about pregnant women? Infertility? All the questions, literally sheets and sheets of questions. I'm hoping he's going to be able to answer and give us his perspective and knowledge from his expertise. This is not a pro or anti-vaccine. This is purely to garner information that if you are on the fence like I am, where there's major concerns, there's a lot of chatter either way, good, not good, this is happening, that's happening. I'm trying to get rid of the chatter and get the facts. And that is why we are putting Dr. Peter Marks on with us, because I'm hoping that he'll be able to answer these questions. Okay. And that is the purpose of this. So if anybody has an agenda other than to garner information, you're at the wrong live. Okay, Zeldy, I'm going to wait to 9:15 to actually get you on. So we got another 5 minutes. I'm sorry for those of you who are on here early. It was really just this total, trying to get it set up, or I'm not making anybody wait. Trying to get the little information out there before. Yes, somebody look at Hannah New York's NYC's comment. I think she has a better way of saying it. Ask why masks needed after vaccine. We're definitely going to get into that. I'm hoping you'll be able to answer those questions. Again, I'm not here to attack him, accuse him. I am only here to ask the questions we all have about this vaccine. And if you've gotten it, you might be fearful, or you'll be okay, but you want to know more. And if you haven't gotten it and you want to know if you should get it, well, not if you should get it, because that's your own personal choice. But if you have concerns about getting it, or if you're fearful about getting it because you've heard about things that are going on, and I believe that, actually saw, somebody sent me, and I'll post it afterwards, a Jewish perspective from, I think they were Australian rabbis, talking about the Torah concept, about the dogma of the politics and the actual vaccine. I hope to post that link. It was fascinating. It was over an hour. It was fascinating. And you need to question. There's no question. If you hear things about the government and everything else like that, it's your right to question, and you need to question. Doesn't mean everything's in truth. And that's where you have to also figure out what that middle road. It was fascinating, and I really appreciate the person who sent it to me. Yes, CBER is the Center for Biologics Education and Research. Okay, guys, it's 9:12. Hi, Sari. Yes, we're going to ask all these questions. Okay, I'm really nervous. I'm really, really nervous. I really hope this goes well, and that Hashem puts the right words in my mouth, and that the right questions are being asked, and that they get answered. They get answered, and we could do what we need to do about it. Yes, the infusion is amazing. Zeldy is going to really talk about it, because I really feel that if God forbid, well, I don't know if God forbid somebody should get sick, because I feel like if you're getting sick with COVID, hopefully you get the antibodies and we all could survive it. So I'm not sure if I want you to not get COVID, because I think it's okay to get COVID, unless you have like comorbidities and stuff like that. But if you should get COVID, and if you should be experiencing complications, this CPI is something, this COVID plasma initiative that's going out, that they run, I think the word is monoclonal. I was good at science. I just can't talk. This monoclonal, and Zeldy is going to really talk about it. I'm going to ask her about it, because she is the one who knows, and she'll let you know what you need to do and what you need to ask for, because it is out there. It is available for the masses. It's sitting in the hospitals. I think there was an AMI article about everything that was going on. I just currently read it. I believe it was an AMI, about how it came about and the people who are behind it. And the literally life-saving treatment that's out there. Okay, 9:13. We got 2 more minutes. Let's see what else is going on here before I turn off the comments. Yes, Eve, thank you for your questions. Eve sent me really phenomenal questions. So I'm telling you, I have from all sides, questions that want to be asked. A lot of you sent me phenomenal questions. A lot of it were repetitive, and I'm trying to condense it. But yeah, we all have the same, at the end of the day, we all have the same concerns. Okay. All right, 1 more minute. Okay, I'm going to do this. Zeldy, I'm getting you. That's it. I hope you're ready, babe. This is you, Zeld. Send request. So hopefully Zeldy will come on and we could start this live. All right. Hopefully more people will show up. Hi, Zeld. All right, 1 second.
Hi, Sam.
I gotta bring it up a little bit higher.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Hi, sweetie pie.
Hi.
Okay.
So much
I
for
did a
having
good
me on.
introduction to you. Who knew that at 7 years old, the person in that house that I lived in my entire high school career would be as productive and as amazing as you. Okay. Thank you, first of all, for hooking me up with Dr. Marks and getting this done. I appreciate it beyond. It was really one phone call, and you did what you got to do. So key to success is you got to know the right people. So I knew the right person. Okay, I really want you to talk about, because I think there are people who know about it and there are people who don't know about it, the whole idea of CPI and what the COVID plasma initiative is and what people should ask for and when they should ask for it, because I think that's key, right? So I'm going to give you the floor. And then are you going to introduce Dr. Marks?
I got
to turn off comments. Thank you, Annette, for reminding me. I'm going to turn off commenting. Okay, there we go. Comments are off. Okay. That would have been that would have been trouble. All right, Zeld, go for it.
Okay, so hi, my name is Zeldy Open for all of you out there. Just a little bit about me. I am a founder of 2 mental health organizations, and when COVID hit in March, I jumped right into COVID Plasma Initiative. Somebody told me about this organization that was starting, that was going to help save lives, and I was really excited to be a part of it. A lot of you here probably
What
knew.
does that mean you were a part of it? Tell them what you do.
Well, in the beginning, we were very focused on gathering as many plasma donors as we can to save as many lives as we can. And so many of our listeners and followers here today know plasma heroes. And our plasma heroes are people from our community who just heard that there were people who were suffering from COVID and they already had COVID because, as we all know, our communities were hit fairly early on. And like no questions asked, people just went by the tens, by the hundreds, even on Shabbos, even on Yom Tov. They went and they went to infusion centers that Morty Searle and Chaim Levitz, our co-founders of CPI, set up. And through these efforts, about 100,000 COVID patients were given plasma. And it's something that everyone here should be so proud of. Just
to be a little bit more talking in the layman terms. So plasma is you take blood from somebody who's a confirmed recovered COVID patient, and that plasma from the recovered COVID patient is then turned into this. What does it turn into? I don't know.
So it's about an hour process, and it's a plasmapheresis. And what it does, it separates the antibodies. It separates the plasma from the blood. The blood goes right back into the donor, and the plasma, which has the antibodies in it, is given. There's like a really fast turnaround time. Sometimes it was like we had our plasma heroes donate, and by the next day, it was going to patients in the hospitals.
Right. So we have a friend in common who was extremely sick and in the hospital, and they got the plasma infusion, and from being super sick to 2 days later being thumbs up. And there are many people that I know that have had that also. And it's really a life-saving thing. So why is it not being talked about more? Why is it that when I'm in the hospital, is it not a protocol that is like you're coming in with this with COVID, you're showing your symptoms, you have, you might have fever, you might be suffering from, low oxygen levels. Why is this not something that's given right away?
So in our hospitals, in our communities, it actually was given fairly soon. Some families had to push for 2 doses in order to get the high titer plasma. But most of the hospitals in our areas were giving the plasma. And
in our areas, meaning the Lakewood area?
The tri-state area.
Okay.
And, there were hospitals that were more quick to give it, and we sent patients to those hospitals, and many, many patients got the plasma, and it was one of the early treatments that really made a very big difference in the lives of so many. And then came November. So there was
November, meaning Donald Trump is not in office. Or before he left.
Let's take a step back. Donald Trump got COVID, and he miraculously turned around. How? He was given this treatment called Regeneron.
Right. And is that what you guys?
Yes.
That is the plasma that you guys took and created this Regeneron?
So there's actually 2 separate treatments, and I'm just going to take a minute to explain it because a lot of people are a little bit confused. There's the plasma that COVID patients donate, which is their antibodies are given to COVID patients, and that's called convalescent plasma.
Okay.
And that's only given inpatient in the hospital once somebody is starting to deteriorate. Then in November time.
What does that mean when they're starting to deteriorate?
When their oxygen is starting to get.
Before they get intubated and put on a ventilator.
Exactly. And hopefully if they're getting the correct treatments at that point, it would prevent them from needing further interventions.
Okay.
Then in November, something really exciting happened. The FDA authorized under the EUA the monoclonal antibody treatment.
Okay.
This was a game changer for COVID patients because now it was finally something that COVID positive patients can get outpatient and it's a quick infusion. It takes about an hour, and it prevents COVID patients from deteriorating. So it brought down the hospitalizations and the death rates in our community.
You lost the ear. Do you get
So much so, you know, informally about 99%. You know, some hospitals were saying by 95%, it reduced the hospitalizations and death. So this is a game changer for COVID. And what we did at CPI is we ran a huge awareness campaign across the country, and we contacted hospitals, doctors, schools, organizations, literally day and night. We just spent letting everyone know that this monoclonal treatment is available.
okay.
And I think we did an excellent job with it. And thousands of patients have since gotten the monoclonal treatments.
Okay.
So for those who are COVID positive, I think the takeaway from this part is anyone who has symptoms or is COVID positive, they should test right away, because the earlier the treatment is given, the more effective it is, and it stops the COVID in its tracks. And we created, our amazing volunteer, Chaim Ozer-Dessler, set up a hotline, and we have a 24/7 hotline, Shabbos, Yom Tov, and people call in, and he helps see if they qualify, because the FDA does have specific criteria in order for someone to qualify, and he'll match them up to the best treatment center, the fastest one. You know, we know which treatment center. We have relationships with most of the treatment centers, and we have treatment centers across the whole United States, and we want people to be infused as soon as possible. That's really our goal, and we've been very, very successful at it. So our phone number is 828 for plasma. If anyone knows, has a relative, a friend, a neighbor, you know, an employee, an employer who has COVID symptoms, please share with them that there is treatment available, and they can call our hotline, and we'll help them set up, see if they qualify, and set them up right away.
Right. Okay, that's fantastic. And again, it's COVID treatment. It's if you are experiencing symptoms that you feel like you can't handle, right?
Actually, the earlier the better. So it's best to be given even before the symptoms get more severe. So
right, but if I'm just like, you know, have a sore throat, or I lost my taste, I should get the COVID plasma?
If you qualify, because most patients start deteriorating, or many patients start deteriorating further on, and by that time, the treatment is not as effective. So
are we worried about any side effects or danger? I mean, has it been tested that we know that we're not putting ourselves at even a higher risk? Has there been any adverse effects that we know of that from this plasma treatment?
So there have been under a handful that we know about, and we've sent thousands, who were allergic to infusions itself, the infusion process, and they gave them a
somebody's trying to reach you.
They gave them a monoclonal treatment. They gave them the anaphylactic, and they were okay.
Right, but how do you know that you might be allergic? So just so that you should know before you, is there like a protocol that, or questions that you get asked before you accept the treatment?
If somebody knows that they are allergic to infusions, then, you know, they would be a candidate. But again, Sarah, we're talking about maybe 2 people out of, you know, a few thousand that we've heard.
Okay. I hear you. I had to ask. So it had to be asked, because and
I really want to take a minute to thank our incredible team at COVID Plasma Initiative. We call ourselves the MAP Squad, and we're all volunteers, and each of these accomplished, busy men and women who all have D-time jobs have volunteered just to help save everyone out there.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, you should be blessed 1,000 times over, and there's no doubt that you save lives. And straight to God, Zeldy.
Yeah, I feel really privileged. Every day I wake up and I just feel so lucky. And also just to have the opportunity to work with these incredible people, and I'm going to give a shout out to them. So first, I'm going to start with.
Oh, we're doing a whole, okay.
Yes, well deserved.
Okay. I'll let you, because you said Dr. Mark, so we're going to give you that time.
I'm going to start with Chaim Lebovitz and Morty Searle. They are the co-founders. They are true leaders in every way. They're humble. They're so accomplished. They step up, and they filled something that has saved so many lives in our community. And not only do we help our community, we've been helping other communities, the Hispanic community, a community in California. So we really have, spread our successful campaign to many others. The Gates Foundation has called us to discuss our campaign. Morty spoke at Duke. Chaim spoke at HHS. So, it's a huge Kiddush Hashem how our community has really been in the forefront of COVID-19 response. And just some of the other key members, Chedva Tumim, she's a high school civics teacher. Shashi Bernstein. From
One second, Zeldy, did she teach while we were in school?
I'm sorry?
Did Mrs. Tuman teach while we were in school? Is that Mrs. Tuman?
It's her daughter-in-law.
Oh, that's hysterical. That's
remember like Kitty and Sadie?
Okay.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. And some of you followers are going to know some of our awesome volunteers. There's Yal Miller from Miller Design, Esther Davidi, Tova Hershwitz, Boss Brands. I'm going to give a shout out to Ahuva Open. Hi, Ahuva. She's our business analyst. And I'm going to say a hello to Naomi Open, who hasn't seen me in about a year. And our families have really given up so much of our time.
Is this available in Israel? It's like available worldwide or only in the USA?
So actually through CPI efforts, Chedva Tumim led the Israel efforts. We were able to get it into Israel.
Okay.
And we're working, Yal's working on Argentina. We worked on Mexico, Shashi, Canada. We're really international. And Chaim Lebovitz has many contacts in the medical world. And Morty is so talented. And together we just make such a wonderful team.
So if I'm in Canada and I need it, I could get it?
So right now.
Call that 82 plasma, number, and somebody's going to hook us up?
8284 plasma.
8284, sorry. 82. I knew
8284 plasma. Call Chaim Moser.
At one point, I'll put it on my story so people could see it. So not now, but because I'm turning off comments. But we'll give you the information.
Thank you. And I really feel so glad to be here. It's very encouraging to see how many women care so deeply about their health, and they're here to find out trustworthy information from Dr. Marks.
Right. So you want to introduce Dr. Marks? Because I don't,
yes.
Dr. Marks, I'm going to add you. I'm going to request to invite you. So hold on, let me see if I could get him on. So Zeldy, you talk? Why?
Sure. While you do that, sure.
Yeah.
So I am honored to introduce Dr. Peter Marks, the director of the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research at the Food and Drug Administration. Over the last year at CPI, we've had the privilege and opportunity to interact with Dr. Marks. He has been on the front line throughout COVID-19, tirelessly involved in treatment options, including plasma, monoclonal antibodies, and vaccines. Dr. Marks' dedication, commitment, and knowledge are unparalleled, and we are very fortunate to have him answering our questions tonight.
Yes, we are. Now we're just waiting for him to join. That's it. We're just waiting for him to join. I don't know if you could reach out to him, because it says waiting for COVID plasma, who is, I don't see, but I don't know if he realizes. All right, guys, a little technical, but I hope, there's no comments for me to look at now, but I'm hoping that you got the information that you needed for that if you have the situation where you are in trouble with COVID or have the symptoms, you know a protocol that can help you. I personally know people who were saved by this plasma, and I could vouch for Zeldy. So that's all you need. I don't see him here.
Yeah, he just texted me. I'm gonna log off. Get him
and
on.
You're gonna log, and he's gonna log on. Okay, so
okay. Take care. Thank you.
All right, bye, sweetie.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. That's it. We're gonna log off. It's gonna take a minute or two, guys. Just bear with us. Gonna remove her, and then see. Okay, back to a full one on me. Before he comes on, Toonie. I don't know, so loud. I don't know if you guys hear her, but she's so loud. So I don't know if she doesn't even hear me. She's so loud upstairs. Trying to juggle it all. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at the questions here that you guys are putting out there, and for some reason it's not loading up, and I see we have a lot of questions, so I don't know why it's not loading up. I'm just going to test something. Oh, how do you like that? Do you guys see that question? Okay. Why are they pushing the vaccine for kids testing on kids for disease and not dangerous kids? Adults, I get. Okay, we're going to ask that question. Okay, now I know how to do this question thing, and then we will continue with it. Okay, let me see if I can get Dr. Marks on. Zeldy, if you're watching, you need to WhatsApp me. I can answer you. Okay, hold on. You see the question. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how do I delete the question. I'm going to get to that question. I just want to try to figure out how this works on my phone. I don't know how this works. I've never done it with the questions like this. Okay, hold on. Ooh. Zeldy, you have to WhatsApp me if you want to tell me something. I'm going to try to join him again at COVID Plasma. Okay, 1 second, guys. It's technical. I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Okay, I sent him a request, and now I got to figure out how to get rid of this question. Hi, Zeld. I just sent him the invite, so hopefully he could, it's waiting for him, so he should look for it. Yes. There's a COVID M. Right, that's it. Okay, so Zeldy, I'm talking to Zeldy for you guys. Zeldy, the request is out there. He should look for it, and he should just hit the join. Or when he came onto the live, you should do it. Okay, I got rid of that question. Okay, we are waiting for him, hopefully sooner than later. Okay. I promise you, this is just iced tea. I do need tequila for this. I don't know why I'm nervous. 1 second. No, that was a question. Oh, come on. Let's see. At COVID Plasma. Try to do it one more time. Did anybody see if at COVID Plasma Initiative actually came on live? No, because you guys wouldn't see that because I turned off the comments. I sent another request. We're going to get this. You know what? Listen, lives are exactly that, live. It's happening in real time. We're trying to get this. Once it starts, we're going to go rolling pretty fast. So hopefully Dr. Mark can come in and it'll all be good. Dr. Marks can come in. Okay, just to recap, we are going to talk about why we should get the vaccine if we already have antibodies. We're going to talk about how I just requested again. It's out there. The request is out there. They don't see it. They don't see the request. So when he joins the live, there should be a request to join. Let me see if I could. Okay, I'm canceling it. Hold on. I'm turning on. No, I'm not turning on comments. I didn't turn off request to go live. I'm requesting one more time. There's like a little camera with a plus sign on there. See if he sees that, because you could do that. But 1 second. It's not because I turned off comments. Okay. You see that there's like a little video camera with like a plus sign? He should hit that if he doesn't see the request. I'm going to turn on comments. Thank you. I have a I have a person helping me out who's sending me WhatsApps of things, and I'm going to turn off the comments if I'm going to turn on the comments if I see that he can't be joined without it. But let's see. I'm going to wait for a few more minutes, a few more seconds. It's out there. I see that it's not happening. Okay, guys. I'm turning on comments for a brief moment. Oh, I found him. Hold on. Hold on. No, Shandy, that's not you. I want... Okay, Dr. Marks, if you hear me, I am requesting you again, but if you see a request to join, please click it. Okay, so Dr. Marks, it's already out there. It's saying waiting for COVID plasma. If you scroll up, you see now a lot of people are commenting. If you scroll all the way up to the very beginning, you'll see a little button that says request to join. I don't know if you're getting that. The person exited the live. He exited live. That option is not on a computer. Uh-oh. Okay. I hear you, but I don't see the request to join. Okay, I don't know. Does anybody know that if you're on a computer, or does he need to be, he's on a computer and he needs to be on a phone? Dr. Marks, are you able to go on a phone? I don't believe it's on it could happen on a regular computer. I did not know that. Thank you. Are you able to go on a phone, Dr. Marks? That was not something I knew. Thank you for that. Are you able to download Instagram and go on your phone? Ooh, okay. I hope this can be done. Okay, I guess we're gonna find out. Okay, we're gonna wait. We're gonna see if it could happen. We're waiting. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that you can't do it from a computer. You're going on the phone now. He's going on the phone. I'm not taking any requests for anybody else to be on my live right this minute. So don't request to join. I see the requests. I am waiting for Dr. Marks himself. Okay, it might take a minute or two. He's going on the phone now, and hopefully it'll happen, and we will see his face sooner than later. Okay, 1 second. I'm going live with you again, Zeldy. You just requested. Let's see if Zeldy's going back on. Okay, Zeldy. What's going on?
Hi.
Hi. Was that a mistake?
I figured he's working on it. I figured I can answer any monoclonal questions in the meantime, or
okay. So anybody here have a monoclonal question? You do it in the comments for right this minute, because I don't know. I can't read the questions on the question mark until I post them.
One more point that also I didn't address was the new variants. I saw a few people ask questions about the monoclonal treatment being effective, and the Regeneron treatment is the most effective for the new variants. So we're recommending that people get Regeneron treatment. There is also Eli Lilly, which may help for the other variants, but Regeneron is a stronger choice.
Okay, somebody wants to know what the criteria is. Do we have like a quick?
Sure.
Well, we can say what the criteria is?
Sure, I'll just go through a few. There are many.
And is there, I'm saying age-wise or anything else like that, is that?
Yeah. Okay. Anyone who's 65 and up, 55 and over, heart condition, asthma.
You 65 and up only to get it?
Anyone who's 65 and up automatically. Meaning
I couldn't get it if I needed it?
Well, there are other criteria. So anyone 65 and up right away can get it. 55 and up if they have hypertension, asthma, cardiac. There are a few more criteria. Anyone who has a BMI of 35 and over automatically qualifies.
Okay.
And anyone who's a diabetic.
Okay.
Anyone who's on immunosuppressive treatments.
Pregnant.
And we put in a lot of effort, and with the help of Lakewood Beaker Holm and many other urgent cares. We were able to get qualified in some areas, but the tri-state area is one of them. All pregnant women, second and third trimester.
Okay, and people are asking because I think they got cut off. Is it available in Canada?
So in Canada, as of now, it is not available. We're working on it, but it has not been approved, unfortunately.
Okay, I won't say is there any like underground thing for it, but because we don't go there. But Canada, I'm sorry. If you want to get sick, come to the tri-state for a minute.
Definitely, you want to
That's
be
crazy
in
to
the
withhold
USA.
alternative. Okay, so Eve is asking, it's crazy to withhold alternatives. What's the reason? What alternative? What are we talking about, Eve? If you get this treatment, is the antibodies temporary, like Rogam?
If you get the treatment, the antibodies last. They recommend that people vaccinate after 90 days from the treatment.
Okay. Right. Okay. Let me just see. Like in Europe, South Africa, is it available there?
So Brazil just had an announcement this week that they got it approved under their own EUA. It's a different name. Okay, hold on just one second because I have Dr. Marks on the phone here. So I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm gonna turn you off then, Zeldy.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry guys for this glitch. I did not know he was going on from a computer. I did not know it didn't work from a computer. I apologize. I should have been smarter about that, but you live and you learn. So we'll get to know it from next time. Who uses a computer anymore to go on Instagram? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, so 1 second. Let's see if I can help you. So the vaccine is only the cure, and everyone needs to get it. Basically, that is not what we're saying. Shuli, is this being live? Save this live? I am going to try to save it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Okay, guys, nobody's pushing anything. We are giving you an option that I can vouch for that has saved people that I know personally their lives. Okay, I'm not pushing anything. I'm giving you an option. If you are not well from COVID, if you feel like you have symptoms and you are nervous because you have some issues that you might be overweight, you might be diabetic, you might have all these issues that are comorbidities that make the COVID even worse. There is a protocol, a treatment. And yes, there's other treatments out there as well, but here's one that I could vouch for, that I know of, that has helped people that are family to me. And that is why I am saying, and I trust Zeldy, I really do. I can tell you right now, she has no hidden agenda. I can tell you that 100% there's no hidden agenda. There's no money switching hands here. Okay. It is literally a protocol that you guys could request. It seems, and I don't know that much about it, but there seems to be criteria that you have to, because it is FDA approved, there is criteria that you have to qualify for. There is an 800-8428 plasma something, which I will get out there, number that you could call that will connect you with somebody who will help you figure out if you are qualified for it, what the criteria is. And I would urge you, even if you're maybe not in a place that might be able to have it, to call that number anyways, because these people jump through hoops to help and save people. It is volunteer. They're giving their time to it. It is something that we know for a fact that has saved quite a few people's lives in our community. So please don't say that we are pushing it. We are not. We are suggesting it for those who would like. Thank you, Annette. 8284 plasma. Okay. Okay, let's see. I don't know about how often. I think she did mention that if one round and you needed another round, you could possibly get another round of the plasma. Somebody's saying CPI pushed for my father to be approved, and she believes that it saved him. So we have testimonials of people who, I mean, I could tell you right off. I have heard from the horse's mouth a doctor saying, this treatment saved my friend's husband, saved him. So let's just put it out there. Okay. We are not pushing anything. It's not a vaccine. This is literally a treatment that if you contract COVID, that is an option for you if you qualify. Toby Amsel, it is not the same as the mRNA. It is not a so-called vaccine. Okay, I am waiting. What time is it that we are waiting for the doctor to come on? I'm hoping I'm going to get that information. It's a little technical right now. I know everybody's sitting on their seats. I'm sorry for the delay. I know it is 9:47 and people are tuning in and they're tired and they have work tomorrow. I apologize. It is no one's fault. Well, if it's anybody's fault, it is my fault because I did not know that you could not get on it with a computer. But when he does come on, I do believe that we will get straight to it and hopefully he'll give us the time. And I appreciate all the efforts that Dr. Marks is doing. Okay, well, and here you go. You got the comments on, so now we get to see some. Yes, but okay, so we're working on him getting on. Another minute, he should be on. Thank you, Zeldy. Okay, so I am going to see if he's going to request. Yes. No, Dr. Zelenko did not officially recommend. No, he didn't. This is not Zelenko's treatment. Dr. Zelenko's treatment was the hydroxychloroquine with other vitamins and zinc, and we will have a chance to speak to him about it. Stop beating myself over the glitch. Do you know me? I take responsibility for things that are even not my fault. It's the worst trait. Yes, we want to say a huge thank you again. Zelda keeps on reminding me. Yes, the plasma heroes. We really do want to say because they work tirelessly, and nobody should. They just work tirelessly, and it's crazy what they have to be put through. So yes, plasma heroes. We do appreciate you. We appreciate, we appreciate anybody who's going above and beyond to figure out how to save lives because this hit us in a way that I've never experienced anything in my life. So thank God we have a treatment that we could deal with. Okay. All right, we're still waiting. What is the monoclonal consist of? I don't know that exact answer. I do believe it's the antibodies from the plasma that's taken from recovering COVID patients. Somebody says if you click your name onto left, once lost. Okay, I hope. Am I back on? Somebody just tell me if I came back on. Do you see me? Okay, good. I didn't see that. Do me a favor, what's that app to me again? If he clicks my name, if you click my name on top, Dr. Marks, you might be able to figure out how to request to join. You see on top, you'll see my name and it says invite to join. I'll invite you to join. Let's see, at COVID. Okay, I sent him the request. Hopefully he sees it.
Oh, connecting.
Oh, Dr. Mark.
I think we may have had success. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Let me turn off the commenting. Okay, yay. Let me get a better view.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Marks, I am sorry for that difficulty. I did not
No,
realize.
I'm sorry. I know it's unfortunately they ban us from Instagram, so I didn't even have it on my phone. So getting it downloaded and then getting connected to you. Sorry. Now we know for next time, but I apologize to everyone.
Right.
I know it's late.
It's my bad, and I'm happy that you're on, and I hope we'll able to get through this.
Now this is a tribute to this. This shows you why Chaim can do just about anything, because if he was able to persist through to get me on tonight, he's good for anything.
Okay, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but Chaim, we appreciate all your efforts as usual. Okay, Dr. Marks, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to come on here, because I think they warned you that we are coming at you with a lot of questions and concerns
Hmm.
about the vaccine. And, you know, we're hoping that you're going to be able to answer all these questions for us and do so in the best way that you have the ability to do. And again, I appreciate it greatly, because I know we are taking valuable time away from you. Um, do you want to maybe introduce yourself and say what it is and how the actual COVID vaccine is something that you are in charge of approving?
Yeah. So I'm happy to just start with a couple minutes by just saying, so the Center for Biologics is the part of FDA which for the past 120 years has been involved, or close to 120 years, 118 years, has been involved in approving vaccines in the United States. We are responsible for making sure that they are made with quality, that they're safe, and that they have the effectiveness that they're supposed to have. And during this past pandemic, we've been very active in trying to make sure that we very speedily had COVID-19 vaccines, and yet we did not essentially do any shortcuts to end up with the kind of safe vaccines that we all have come to expect. Vaccines have made an incredible difference in public health. Next to knowing not to put your sewage next to your drinking water, giving vaccines probably is responsible for more health improvement than most other things that we do. Smallpox is no longer on this earth because of it, or no longer circulating on this earth. Polio is controlled. We don't have measles running around, and a lot of other things. So they're very important products. For COVID-19, starting a little over a year ago, a very concerted effort was made to get to vaccines that would potentially protect people against this virus. Several different approaches were taken. You've heard about the mRNA approaches. We now have 2 mRNA vaccines that have emergency use authorization in the United States.
And I hope you are prepared to be.
Yeah, I'm looking
about
forward
the
to the
mRNA,
question.
because that's a huge concern for many of us that,
Yep.
you know, okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And there's the Janssen or Johnson & Johnson, the adenoviral vectored vaccine, which is a 1-dose vaccine as opposed to a 2-dose vaccine. And there are several other vaccines that are also in development, which we'll probably see in the next couple of months come under either emergency use authorization or through become available through our normal biologics license mechanism. So a variety of vaccines, they've all been given the emergency use authorization because they were put through very large clinical trials, the size trials that we normally use to approve vaccines, that involve roughly 15 or 20,000 people who get the vaccine, compared to 15 to 20,000 people who get a placebo to compare it to.
Can I ask you a question? What's the
Sure.
difference between emergency authorized vaccine and an FDA approved vaccine?
That's a really great question. So our normal standard for an FDA approval is that we have to have a license application submitted, and we do facilities inspections, and we go through all the data, and there's a lot of administrative work that goes into that. The emergency use authorization was put into place after the terrorist attacks of 9/11 to allow us to get certain medical products to people more quickly when there was a biologic or chemical or radionuclear threat. Now, what we did over the past summer was we put out some guidance which explained that in the case of these COVID-19 vaccines, we have used pretty much close to the same standard. It's not the identical standard, because what we did not require the manufacturers to do is do all the administrative paperwork that they would normally need to do to submit a biologics license application. They're going to have to do that on the downside. For right
but were
now,
like the trials unblinded, were, you know, because usually how long does
the trials that were done for these, that's a really good, so the point here is the trials that were done for these were the same trials that would have been done for a biologics license application. The only difference, the efficacy portion is the same. The only difference is we don't have as much safety follow-up after that we would have in a biologics license application, simply because you don't have a year's, we haven't had a
Right.
year
So
go
time,
by.
we know
Right.
that time is not our friend here, because we don't have the time or of 5
Right.
years or
But
6 years.
that's why we're watching so closely with safety surveillance systems, looking at adverse event reporting, both what people report and also by using large databases to make sure we're not missing adverse events.
Okay, so you brought up VARS, right, which is the vaccine adverse reporting that is out
Mm-hmm.
there. Currently, there are close to about 4,000 reports of deaths that are up there. We know it's about a 10% of people who are actually reporting complications and problems with it. My question to you is, what does the FDA do to actually follow up on these type of reports, and how seriously are they taken? And because if it was any other product in any other genre, right, and there were that many deaths and that many complications that we're seeing now, that thing would be pulled off the shelf.
Yeah, the difference though is that so let's back up. We look
Okay.
at every case, and we basically have a small army that's going through these and that looks to make sure that we're not missing signals. If you think about how many people were vaccinated, so with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines alone, as of last week, we had given over 180 million doses of those. Okay. And if you add on the J&J vaccine, you're starting to buck up towards, in the past week, getting close to 200 million doses of vaccine. If you vaccinate a lot of people, and particularly if you vaccinate a lot of people over the age of 75, you're going to see deaths. And that's because that's natural. We know that from what happened in Norway when they started to vaccinate, in other European countries where they have very good single
Just because I'm
surveillance
not
systems.
understanding, we're going to see deaths because it's natural deaths, or we're going to see deaths
Those are
because
natural deaths, these are not from the vaccine. These are because stuff happens to people,
do we
unfortunately.
have that? And this is because it's my ignorance. I don't know yet if I don't know of reports or not reports. My question is, are those numbers significantly higher than it would be on the norm if we would compare it to what happened prior to COVID and what's happening now after COVID and the vaccine?
Yeah, it's really good question. When our epidemiologists look at this, when the scientists look at this, we're not seeing anything out of the ordinary that we wouldn't expect for what we would normally see for people. So the vaccine is not causing people, we're not seeing deaths from these vaccines. I can say we're seeing mild to moderate side effects. That's clearly the case. After you get these vaccines, people who get these vaccines for the first couple of days, more than half of people after they get the second dose of the mRNA vaccines feel tired or flu-like. That's a side effect.
So I just want to ask you, because not everybody understands what mRNA is. And I know that it's something that's been around for 30 years, testing, but mostly on animals, right? There has been testing in humans, but it's a very small percentage. So we are basically the guinea pig, so to speak. I mean, that's a lot of people's feelings for this mRNA testing with this COVID vaccine. So how do we reconcile that with, taking the vaccine and knowing risk reward, that we're being, that it's being expedited, B, that even though it's being expedited, we're under the same trial, yet we don't have the time, because we just, there's one thing that we don't control here is time. How do we know that we are, what is how do you,
no, all good questions.
you know what I'm
Let's
saying?
back
Like,
up
how
with
do
what
we, what
an
can we answer
mRNA
to those who
vaccine
are
is.
fearful of the mRNA testing on humans and being the guinea pig for it?
Yeah, so mRNA, you correctly said that mRNA vaccines have been tested in humans previously, but they've never been deployed. They've never been given to millions and millions of people like we did recently. The clinical trial that was done for Pfizer involved close to 45,000 people. For Moderna, it involved about 30,000 people, and about half of those people received the active vaccine. And the adverse events there were essentially, the adverse event profile was very favorable. Now you might say, well, that's only between the two vaccines. You know, what is that? That's maybe 35,000 people. So, okay. But now we've actually seen between various countries around the globe, millions upon millions upon millions of people receive the vaccine. Many of the countries in which the vaccine have been deployed have better safety surveillance systems than we even have in the United States. Israel, some of the Nordic countries, and no one is seeing a major safety signal with this, anything that's making them concerned. Yes, they're seeing people reporting up front that some people are feeling fatigued. Yes, they're upfront. People are feeling, some people have flu-like symptoms. Yes, some of these very serious allergic reactions occur very rarely, about 1.25 million people. But overall, these vaccines appear to be pretty safe. You know, I received the Pfizer vaccine. Yes, it's true. After the first vaccine, I felt a little tired. After the second vaccine, I couldn't tell whether it was I was feeling tired or it was just the fact that I had only gotten 16 hours of sleep the week before. But these vaccines are being given to enough people, and we're following them in real time. I
Right, but
don't
the
view this.
mRNA, I just want, because I don't want to be like, I don't want to push this point too much, but mRNA, we have seen that after 5 years with the animal trials, that there has been ADE, like, you know, there has been issues with it on animals. And because we're humans and we don't have that span of time, because we don't have that time, it's concerning to many of us who, you know, feel like,
Can you tell me what animal data you, because I'm not aware of animal data that's been of concern with mRNA vaccines.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact study, but I
Yeah.
do know that there was a study with ferrets where all the ferrets died after a certain amount of timing with it, or.
Yeah, you know, because there have been enough studies where humans were given these vaccines in the past, and it's been used for, investigated for Zika virus and for certain other viruses in the past, in humans, and people. So what? Let's just back up to what an mRNA vaccine is.
Okay, maybe that's better.
mRNA is simply the component in it's a natural component in the body that shuttles the message for making protein from your DNA, your genetic material, into the part of the body that makes protein. And then the mechanism of your body that makes protein sees the mRNA and it makes protein. That protein is expressed on the surface of a cell for a portion of time. The body's immune system sees it, it recognizes it because it's a viral protein, recognizes it as something foreign, and it makes an immune response. The mRNA, it is degraded, it is destroyed within a day or two of actually being given, because it's not a permanent type of molecule. It's not one of these things that sits around like DNA.
But so that's my question. Is it a gene therapy? Because this is different than other vaccines, because this does like I think the word is a transfection, like it does sort of, you know, play with our DNA.
Well, no, it doesn't play with your
It
DNA.
does. Okay, so
It does not play with
okay,
your
I'm
DNA.
giving
And
you,
the reason why
okay,
it
so
can't play with your
this is where you
DNA
are busting
is,
myths for me,
this
doctor.
is a really great, these are great questions.
Okay.
So mRNA, the mRNA, when it leaves the nucleus of a cell, it's a one-way valve. It doesn't go back in. So when these mRNA vaccines are given, they don't get into the nucleus of the cells. They just don't get there. And even if they could get there, which they don't, we don't have in humans the enzyme necessary to make the RNA play with your DNA. So there's this idea that these mRNA vaccines are going to somehow change your DNA. That's just not, it's not possible.
Okay.
You know,
I'm
there
glad to
is a
hear
way
that, because that
I
is
could sit here and try to make a hypothetical
no, I
situation
don't want
but
hypotheticals.
it
I
wouldn't, but
want to
they
know
don't.
what the
They
truth
don't.
is, because I have seen on social media, I have seen on regular, you know, I have seen people discuss, I've seen actual doctors who are on the other side discuss how these vaccines are not your regular vaccine, because it's not the normal vaccine, which was a big confusion. Is it, you know, it's something that actually plays with your DNA, and that it's in a permanent, it's a permanent transfection of your DNA. And I'm glad to hear that.
No, someone who's thinking that is absolutely mistaken, and I don't have to worry about me being wrong about that, because that's just a fact. There are things that are rumors, there are things that are fact. I have so my PhD is in cell and molecular biology. I think I know what mRNA does. I'm pretty sure that I can tell you that mRNA is it's one of these things in the body that doesn't last a long time. It's there to shuttle genetic information from the nucleus of the cell to make protein. In this case, the vaccine is what it does is it takes a small amount of that mRNA. It essentially puts it in what is the equivalent of a soap bubble. That is what allows it to get into the cells of the body so that it can actually express that protein. That protein gets on the surface, it stays for a little bit, makes this immune response, and it's gone. It's not changing your genetic material. It's not changing your ability to get pregnant. It is not affecting fertility. Frankly,
how do we, because there is, okay, you went there, you went with the vaccine shedding.
We spent, so both of the mRNA vaccines have had very good studies done in animals to show that they don't have an adverse effect on reproduction or on the newborn animal. So I think we're pretty confident that nothing bad is happening there. And actually, as a preview, sometime in the next day or two in the New England Journal, you might want to take a look, because there'll be a report. Some reports will come out about the safety in women, not mice or rats, but in women who have given birth, who have had these vaccines.
Sorry, doctor. My daughter's friends are calling my phone. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. My kids play video games, and the bandwidth goes down to nothing. So that's a problem too sometimes. I'm with you.
So I appreciate that, because it's real life, it's live. This is how it happens. Okay, so when we're talking about, because it's a big concern, the infertility and stuff like that, there are, personally, with the shedding of the vaccine, personally myself, I'm experiencing some type of symptoms with my cycle, and I have not taken the vaccine. My husband has taken the vaccine. And after hearing about shedding of the vaccine, I'm experiencing some of the symptoms that people are talking about. I do know people, that are in Israel that had taken the vaccine and were pregnant while taking the vaccine and did have stillborns and miscarriages from this vaccine. So my question is, because we don't really have the time on our side, how are we really sure? How can we be reassured that this vaccine does not affect the unborn fetus, the pregnant mother, infertility in the future? Like, where is the assurance of that?
So I think let me start with the easy one, where I can give you the most reassurance. I think for fertility in the future, this vaccine has it can't mess with that, because it simply doesn't get there to mess with it.
What does that mean? It doesn't get there.
What it means is that the vaccine, it's given locally in the arm. Such a small amount gets to any place like the ovaries, and what gets there, it's destroyed before it could cause any long-lasting effect. And it can't cause any long-lasting effect, because it can't adversely affect your DNA. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it doesn't have that capacity. My science
background is extremely limited.
Yeah, it can't do that. Now, we'll have to be honest with you and say that, in terms of looking at whether there's any adverse effect on pregnancy and the newborn, all I can say is that we're following thousands of women, and to date, with following that cohort of women forward, there's no evidence of an excess. If there is, it's the smallest of excesses, and I don't even think that that's even been shown yet.
So you would actually recommend it for pregnant women?
I would say the following, that it's a risk-benefit discussion between every pregnant woman and their doctor. I'm not sure whether in the first trimester because that's the most sensitive place. some doctors, I'm not an OBGYN, I'm a hematologist oncologist by training, but some OBGYNs are saying second and third trimester is where it matters the most. And that's because COVID, if a woman gets COVID in the second or third trimester of pregnancy, we do know, as opposed to like hypothetical, oh, maybe this could happen.
Okay.
We do know that it's can be pretty bad. There we know that there are adverse fetal outcomes and adverse maternal outcomes, moms dying or kids dying or moms ending up on respirators. And so for the second or third trimester, the most, I would say that from talking to the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology folks, most of the OBGYNs would tend to recommend it in the second or third trimester. I'm not saying
they're doing the risk reward, basing that if you do get it within your second or third trimester while pregnant, it's the risk is higher than the vaccine risk.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So that's why it's being recommended.
That's why it's being recommended. Okay. And you know what? Obviously, you know, people have to feel comfortable with what they do. You know, we have to feel comfortable with what we do. I feel very comfortable with that recommendation because we know what that risk benefit trade-off. So but you need to talk to every woman needs to talk with her, you know, her provider and feel comfortable. Because if you don't feel comfortable, you shouldn't do something, right?
Okay, so Dr. Marks, I'm going to be putting you on the spot more than I have thus far, because this is my next question to you, is that if we're saying that it's a woman's choice after she's spoken to her OBGYN or a woman's choice, even if she's not pregnant, to take this vaccine, it's a human's choice to take the vaccine or not. Why do people who have antibodies are being pushed to take the vaccine? Why is it that we are creating, I mean, you're saying that we're at 200 million with people in America, in the USA who have had the vaccine. I know that it takes more than that to actually get herd immunity. So like, and you might not ever get there. So the question is, when is there, like, well, you know, even today, President Biden came on and basically said, you know, we need more people out there. He's giving it to 16-year-olds and above. We haven't even gotten yet to, you know, giving the vaccine to kids, because it has petered out. People, meaning we have come to a plateau of people getting the vaccine. So now we might not hit the herd immunity number. And the question is, can we rely on the antibodies that we do have? Is it, I'm throwing you a lot of questions at this point. And do you believe it should be mandated to get the vaccine?
So let me back up and
because I know I threw a lot. I apologize.
Let me unpack that. Yeah. So yes, there are some things that are very real research questions that I don't know the answer to, and that is, if you've had COVID-19, do you need to get one vaccine or do you need to get both shots if a 2-vaccine regimen? And we don't know that. That's being studied. The reason why we think that you need probably at least one is because we know that many people don't. After 90 days, when you go look, you don't see really high antibody titers. And if you give a vaccine, then you boost those. So that's an open question. Again, to talk to your doc. If you've had COVID and you're concerned about getting 2 shots, it's something to talk about with your doctor, okay? I'm not going to be militant about saying you need both shots.
But you do recommend that if you had COVID, that you should, after a certain amount of time,
the recommendation is after 90 days that you should get vaccinated. And right now the recommendation is to get the full vaccine regimen. But there are studies going on to see whether 1 shot will do, and we'll hopefully have those results in the not too distant future. Now, the other question is, are we going to get to this magic herd immunity? Are we going to get enough people taking the vaccine? And the hope is by continuing to increase vaccine confidence that we will get closer to herd immunity. The problem for COVID-19 is we don't know exactly where herd immunity is. Unlike measles, which has been around for a while, where we understand, or pertussis, which has been around for a while, where we know where herd immunity is in terms of how many people need to be vaccinated. We don't yet know that for COVID-19. You'll hear Dr. Fauci say, originally he said, oh, maybe 75, 80%. Now maybe could it be higher? We just don't know for sure. But what we do know is that the more people that are vaccinated, the fewer people there will be for this thing to circulate in, and the fewer new variants we'll have, and the fewer problems we'll have. So, I mean, I think we need to continue to work to get as many people vaccinated as we can, because it will help reduce the burden of disease. And one of the reasons to get people vaccinated is that some people say, oh, I'm young. If I get COVID, it's no big deal. But the COVID long hauler syndrome, where about 20 to 30% of people have either symptoms of brain fogginess. We've had people who have, problems with their heart afterwards. Those are not things that you want to have. So I think that's a good reason to go get vaccinated.
But if we
and
do
prevent
get
this.
vaccinated, is it stimulating an immune response that could be, an adverse effect from just getting COVID, and our immunity is actually higher if we got the COVID versus just getting the vaccine?
It turns out that the vaccine tends to produce both the current mRNA vaccines. When you get both doses, the immunity that you get is probably as high or higher probably than most natural infections. Now, that's true. There's such a range in natural infections that some people get natural infections that have incredibly high antibody titers. But getting vaccinated is a very good way to get very high antibody titers against the very specific protein that causes that is on the surface of the COVID-19 virus.
So it's only preventing the severity of COVID. It's not actually, is it preventing COVID in general? Because there are people who've had the vaccine that has also gotten COVID afterwards.
Yeah, that's true, because the vaccines are only about 95, like the mRNA vaccines are 99, somewhere between 92 and 95% effective. And that means that, out of 100 people, 5 people may come down with COVID. But those people, when they come down with COVID, they generally are not these are not the kinds of COVID cases that are killing people. Yeah, they might have a mild case of COVID. The vaccine is preventing deaths from COVID-19, which is, in certain age ranges, the numbers of deaths from COVID-19, if you got COVID, were pretty significant. If you were over 85 and you got COVID-19, a fair number of those people were dying from it. So this vaccine has made a big difference. And a lot of them
had comorbidities. So the question is now, you're giving vaccines. Let's say you have a comorbidity. Let's say you do have diabetes. We know that Johnson & Johnson had a blood clot issue. Let's say you do have heart issues. Let's say you have a comorbidity. How are you not being panicked about the vaccine? Like, when is it, like, why does it seem like it's a one size fits all versus saying that I haven't heard anybody come out and say that if you have, you're susceptible to blood clots, or if you have, high blood pressure, or you have diabetes, or your BMI is skyrocketing, not to take the vaccine. Are we at all?
That's because in those very large clinical trials, we had them deliberately enroll patients who had things like, so in the trials, roughly all of the trials that were done, somewhere on the order of 40% roughly of the people who enrolled in the trials had problems like they were very, very much overweight, which means 30 to 40% overweight or more. They had diabetes, they had high blood pressure, or a combination of those things, or pulmonary disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So we know from the people who were in the trial that many people with chronic illnesses actually did very well with the vaccine. And some of those people would probably, had they gotten COVID-19, we know that people with diabetes don't do so hot. Many of people with chronic disease don't do so hot when they get COVID-19. And
was the trial only on healthy people or people who actually?
No, that's the whole point. As I say, okay. 40% of the people, define healthy. 40% of the people had diabetes, or they were very, very overweight, or they had high blood pressure, or they had some combination thereof.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. The population we don't have data on are people who have true immunocompromise. That is, people who have like cancer. They were not included in the trials. And that's one where if you're somebody who's had cancer, particularly if you had some kind of leukemia, you'd want, or lymphoma, you'd want to talk with your doctor about the benefits of getting the vaccine, which is also still generally favorable. It's just that we don't have the data.
Okay, because now that you're saying it, I just, got a little bit nervous because my 15-year-old niece in Israel took the vaccine and she had Wilmer's tumor and it recurred 3 times in her. Thank God she's okay and she's in full remission, but she got the vaccine. So is that something that should be concerning? I mean, she's okay. She's got a
No, she
vaccine.
should be. I would, if I listen, my practice in hematology oncology was leukemia patients.
Okay.
Okay. And I would be telling all of them to get vaccinated right now, because even though they might not make as good an immune response to the vaccine, they'll make some immune response, which will help protect them.
I mean, she has one kidney. People who have one kidney, people who have those, I mean, are we, we're
There actually, what you're doing is trying to make sure she doesn't get into problems.
okay.
And I don't have any, again, a lot of these things you have to have the individual doctor needs to make sure that they're comfortable vaccinating that individual person.
So then the next question, which I'm going to repeat, is the feeling of mandated and the green passport and getting into countries without the vaccine. How because I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, here, but it is very there is a feeling of being treated like a second-class citizen if we have chosen not to take the vaccine, or if we have an immunocompromised situation and our doctor advised us from not getting the vaccine, or if we're in our first prime, whatever it might be, that we might not get that vaccine. How do
So I'm a scientist and not a politician. So I'm going to unfortunately punt here a little bit. I'm not going to make a big, I'm not going to comment on whether vaccines should be mandated or not. My hope is that by providing people with the information they need to make intelligent choices, they will ask enough questions and come to the right conclusions, that they feel comfortable enough getting vaccinated. And if they feel, that there's something about that they can't get to, at least with the ethical principles that I hold, I'm not out there to go stab people who don't want to be stabbed with vaccine. Okay.
That's
But
good.
my hope is, by answering questions, the hope is that, most of the time in my experience, people, when we have as many rumors and things flying about vaccines, it's because people don't understand them, and it's because people haven't taken the time to explain them and deal with people's concerns. It's normal to be nervous about something in a bottle that you didn't make getting put into a syringe and stuck into your body. That's okay. I get it. And so it's my job and the job of healthcare providers to help explain what's going on here.
I mean, there's also
yeah.
people who are fearful of the government, and FDA is part of the government. And there has been, we have to learn from our past and what they did with the Black community and their vaccine. And, there were issues with the polio vaccine. And the fact is that the vaccine companies are not being held liable if we find out in a few years something went screwy because we missed it. You know what I'm saying? So I hear you, but people are concerned.
No, I hear that too, but we have done our absolute best to make sure that, using the totality of the evidence that we have available, that we're pretty darn sure that we're not going to see bizarre things going on years from now in people who get this vaccine. There are no, the government, it is true people are suspicious of government, but the people who work at FDA are a group of people who care about what they do. They care about the health of the American public. And from our inspectors who go out and look at facilities, to the reviewers who look at the applications, to the statisticians and the epidemiologists who look at adverse events, we're here because we care. We go to work every day because we care about making sure that the American people's health is taken care of. So, these are individual people, and We have in our center about 1,300 of them, but the FDA obviously is much larger. Those people are there because they care about people's health. There's no I can swear on a stack of Bibles or whatever you'd like, however you like it. That people here are absolutely doing their best to make sure that what's out there is the safest possible thing that's going to help save lives and
I mean, because
not
there is
have
big.
side effects.
I'm saying there is big pharma. You know,
People are no people. Listen, people have. I'm not going to argue that people, with people who understand. I mean, big pharma is big pharma. But in this case, we're here to make sure that what happens, what comes from big pharma, is safe and is safe, effective, and quality made.
On a different note, I'm just because I don't know this number. Normally, how long does it take for a vaccine to get approved?
Really, really good question. Usually, it can take anywhere. I mean, for a slow-moving vaccine through the process, it can take 9 or 10 years. For a fast-moving vaccine, it can take 3 or 4 years. So this is a record breaker in terms of the time it takes to get there.
And there's no concerns that it was expedited on a very fast level because the risk reward part of it, or
I was pretty involved in this early on, and we made a very strong commitment at the beginning of this that we obviously needed to move quickly, but we were not going to cut corners, because if we cut corners, it comes back to haunt you. You brought up something that's absolutely right. There was some in the 1950s, there was a problem with a vaccine, the polio vaccine, because the vaccine wasn't made correctly because people were trying to do it fast and cut corners. So we can't cut corners. We got it. And so our job was to do this. And a lot of the way that was done was not by leaving out steps, but it was by doing the steps, flowing from one into the next. And by manufacturing vaccine at risk rather than waiting for the end of the process. So, it was a concerted effort.
I appreciate that answer. I have one or two follow-up questions on it, just because I also don't know this answer. If you've already gotten the vaccine, is it possible to be a spreader of COVID?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one that we're looking at constantly. The data that are coming out right now, and some of this data comes out of Israel, where they have the highest vaccination rate around the globe right now. Right. And some of it comes from other studies. But it looks like if you're vaccinated, your risk of spreading COVID-19 is reduced by about 80%, roughly. That's pretty good. Okay, we don't get.
I mean, that's great. That's pretty good. That's
pretty nice, right? So that this way, that asymptomatic spread, which we're very concerned about, seems to be stopped by these vaccines, and that's a very important piece of this. Over the next few months, we'll get a better number. It'll get tighter, and we'll know whether it's more like 90% or could it be 75%. But it's up there at a reasonable rate that if you're vaccinated, you're going to probably not spread this thing. And that's one of the reasons.
So then I have the next follow-up question. Why are we masking the vaccinated? Why are we masking the people with antibodies?
Yeah. So really, really good question again. And that's because there are a couple of reasons for this, but let me start with,
because I will tell you, I will be upfront with you. Yeah. I'm an anti-masker. I really am.
I something I respect. I understand, and I respect your opinion.
It's at this point, when we're 200 million, and I feel like you're killing that you're killing the immune system, and you're just putting ourselves more in danger than.
Well, what you do by wearing a mask is you that last 20% after you're vaccinated or something, you're making sure that you're reducing the risk of spread. More so when you're walking around on the street. In many cases, at least where I live in Washington D.C., I'm fully vaccinated. And the reason why I wear a mask is because I don't wear like a badge on my chest that says, oh, I'm fully vaccinated. It makes someone else passing by me on the street. When I pass by my elderly neighbors, I happen to live in an area where several of my neighbors down the street are in their 70s or 80s. They know that I'm masked. They feel confident that I'm doing the right thing by not spreading something to them, because they see me outside all the time walking my dog or this or
Right,
that.
but if they're vaccinated, because we're assuming or we're hoping that the 65 and older population has been the ones that are making that 200 million number versus the ones that are younger, why are we still pushing that?
Yeah, we're at
And
this
also,
point.
I mean, if I feel like the mask is literally choking me and it's something that's against my health, why am I doing it for your greater good if it's not for my greater good? Do you get what my?
Yeah,
And
no,
I know I'm putting
I
you on
hear
the
you. I
spot,
hear you.
and it's something that really, it's not. It's a vaccine issue, because if if I do get vaccinated, I can guarantee you, I will not be happy to have to wear a mask. It won't be on my.
Understood.
And we've been on planes, and Israel now is taking off masks outside and not inside because their population has pretty much been vaccinated. So the question
And that's likely what's going to start to happen, is that you'll see a relaxation here. That the CDC's now said that if you're vaccinated and you're with another vaccinated family in your house, you don't have to wear masks. You can even have, if you're all vaccinated, you can even have one other family group into your house, and they don't have to wear masks, because the feeling is that since you're protected, the likelihood of you spreading something to them is pretty low, and the likelihood of you getting infected by them is pretty low.
I mean, I did see Senator Paul Rand, grill Fauci, and and he wasn't wrong in this, because there is no evidence. There is no evidence that masks protect, and we do have evidence that the vaccine does protect.
Yeah, the mass data, there are some data with mass that do seem to show that. I mean, I'm not going to go to that hot topic. I was in the room when that exchange took place. I was sitting
were you?
I was sitting one seat away
You were only one seat away.
from
Okay.
Dr. Fauci, where we were testifying together. So I can tell you it was not a pleasant experience. So I'm not going to go there right now. It's
pleasant
getting,
experience because you didn't have the answer, or pleasant experience because
because something. I think I listen. I think that every one of us has to do what we feel comfortable doing. I think Dr. Fauci reads the science. I read the science. We interpret it that that masking has helped reduce the spread. Some people don't agree, and I respect Dr. Paul for his, he can read the science his way. I'm not going to get into a collision with him on this. My biggest message right now is to try to help make sure that we get vaccinated. Look, we want to get back to normal. We want to get back to normal life, right? That's what we want to get back to, right? I just want to tell you, to me, normal life is being able in the summer to do things that we like to do. I grew up in Brooklyn.
What happens in the summer?
I want to get back to being able to go to Coney Island and be able to have a nice day at the beach, not have to be masked up, etc. So the faster we get there,
and that's vaccinating more people. Is that the magic?
Well, I think I mean, look at Israel. They've gotten high vaccination rates. Their rates of transmission have plunged, and they'll probably get to something, if not herd immunity, something close enough so that they'll be able to open up enough that it'll feel more like normal. So I think we have to continue to work to get people vaccinated.
Right, but the question is, for those who may feel like the vaccine is not for them, how do we, and I know that you don't want to get into the politics of it. I hear what you're saying. I have been, and I'm happy to hear what you're saying, because I've learned a lot just now, and
So for those who don't feel comfortable at this minute, if you don't like mRNA vaccines, and if you don't like viral vector vaccines, there are also protein vaccines. Protein vaccines are like a lot of the vaccines your kids get when they get a number of the vaccines that children get. are basically just the protein instead of any genetic material, like tetanus toxoid. It's just the protein. And those vaccines are in clinical trials. Feel free to join one of those clinical trials, or those will probably be available to the American public sometime in the next couple of months. So if you're hesitant now, don't totally rule out vaccination. Keep it in your head and think about.
Well, that's the purpose of this live, to
yeah,
garner, to
yeah.
ask these questions, get the information, and see risk reward for you personally. I do believe it's a personal choice once you've gathered the information. I'm hoping that the government realizes it's also a personal choice. We didn't hit kids and the vaccine. What are your thoughts about kids 12 and under being tested for, being put on trial for the vaccine?
So for children above 12 and above, I think what we're learning is the vaccine seems to be safe in those, and we have trials going on.
You said
but
the word seems to be. That's not so reassuring, Dr. Marks. So
well,
is there better?
It seems to be because the better word is that within a number of weeks we will have officially opined that it is safe. But
because
until
there's been testing on children, or because
because thousands, it's been given to thousands of children now in the ages of 12 to 15.
Okay.
And so when I say it seems, it's because we haven't made an official determination yet. And when we make that official determination, we will have determined it to be safe.
What is that assumption of safety? Like, what is that assumption? Like, how does one determine it to be safe?
One looks at when one studies the vaccine, you give it to the children, in this case, let's start with 12 to 15-year-olds, and you watch and see what adverse events they have over the course of the clinical trial, which is, in this case, watching them over the period of 2 to 3 months and seeing and making sure that they don't have any different kinds of side effects than adults have.
Frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Am I frozen?
Oh, now you're good. Did somebody try to call you?
No, but probably it's about the time of evening when my son who's 19 is probably getting ready to play Call of Duty 29 or something like that.
Give us a few more minutes to get a few more questions in, and
okay.
we'll let him play Call of Duty.
So I think so we will only allow these vaccines to be used in kids in whatever age kids we allow them to, when we are convinced that they will be safe, which brings me to the 12 and under crew.
Right, because their percentage is almost zero in being affected by COVID or having any type of death.
Right, although they can spread COVID. And that's why, but what you're bringing up is exactly why we're being very cautious, and why the clinical trials are going to watch them for longer periods of time. And we're going to make sure that we go slowly there, because we want to make sure that we're not causing problems in smaller kids. So you're not going to see an authorization or approval for use of the vaccines in children under the age of 12 for several months. Okay, that's a few months away at least. It's probably something for this fall or winter, because we need more data and we're going to have to follow the kids longer.
I mean, is there any ethical ramification for testing kids on?
Well, the way the ethics there works for kids is that if there's potential benefit, it's reasonable to do a clinical trial, and you do that with the consent of the parents. And it does seem like, there are parents who consent to their children being in these studies. The children, when they're interviewed, seem to be happy being in the studies, happy enough.
Okay, but I mean, we don't know. I understand that, and I respect the parents' decision, because I don't believe they love their child any less than a person who doesn't want to put their children in it. And actually, I would benefit if and when those those studies come to fruition. I'm not at all ever judging a parent who wants to put someone in such a trial. My question, though, is, are like the safety of those children, is it because we did recently the
FDA watches, we look over these trials and watch these trials very carefully. There are data safety monitoring boards. Those are independent people who look at the trials. We're watching these trials very carefully, and if there was any kind of safety signal that made us take pause, we would stop those trials and wait. So this is, we take this pretty seriously. We put trials on pause when we need to if we're concerned. But so far, knock wood, so good with the vaccine trials in kids. And we'll just have to see how these go in younger kids, because what they do is they age de-escalate. First they start so we've gone 12 to 15, then they'll do 7 to 12 or 5 to 12, then they'll do 2 to 5, and they'll kind of work down.
My question is, would the FDA consider, is this a consideration with the children, to not expedite these type of trials, but more like give it the time necessary? Like, let's see the 5-year effect versus the 6-month effect, because we do know that their percentage of COVID related issues are so little. Why would we expedite it versus giving it the time necessary to see what effects
we do know that we know two things. We know that children can spread COVID-19, which is a problem because that means that we can have continued spread. We also know that certain children, after they get COVID-19, it's a small number, get a multi-system inflammatory disorder, and that can be an issue. All of those things are things that we have to be careful about.
But even if they are spreaders, right? Hopefully at one point, we're going to be at that vaccination level where it wouldn't be such a concern, right? So why are we rushing?
I think it's because I think it's not unreasonable to study it, because we don't know. It may be we have to get up to 90 or 95% of the population vaccinated to get to herd immunity. And the other problem is we may see more. Do you really believe
we'll ever get to that 90-95% if it's not mandated?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think you're right. It's probably a pretty heavy lift. But
I think it's the heaviest lifts, and that I hear what you're saying. I really do. I'm just, my fear, and I'm not saying pro or anti. I'm really pro-choice here, that if you choose, because I think eventually I probably would get the vaccine if it means that I can't get into Israel to see my family and stuff like that. Risk reward for me personally, you know what I mean? And this is something that I had, been thinking for a long time, which is why I'm doing these type of lives with people like you who know. But my issue is the mandate of it, and the fact that in order to get herd immunity, you're going to have to get the 95%, right? And there are many people who won't get it for whatever reason. And I personally, with my child who's under 12, it scares me that there's not that time. So I might wait for that time, wait 5 years till we really know, versus giving it to her now when she's under 12. So these are concerns, and
one of the advantages we have going for us with all of these vaccines is because of the incredibly massive deployments. Even though you may not have quite as long a time, most of the time for adverse effects, there are tails on adverse effects. And when you vaccinate tens and tens of millions of people, and you watch closely for adverse effects, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Generally, also, I can't think of a vaccine. I just can't think of a vaccine where 5 years out we found some bizarre side effect that we didn't see the early on. The 95+% of vaccine side effects occur within the first 6 weeks of vaccination. A small percentage more occur during the first 6 months, and it's the number that occur after, between 6 months and a year, are very, very small.
Do we have anybody vaccinated for a year yet?
With this particular vaccine, I think it's about 9 months. Okay. 9 months.
So we don't have that year yet.
We don't have that year, right? Because these vaccines were. My guess is there's probably around the country, there might be around the country and in Germany, where the phase 1 trial was started just about now. There might be about, a handful of people, 20 or 40 or 60 people around the globe that have been vaccinated for almost a year or a year. But in terms of larger numbers, it's probably 9 months.
Okay. Hello.
Hang on. I think I got to get gas here.
Oh, I'm
I got to
sorry.
go. It's okay. I got to go get some gas here. Hang on.
Do you
Uh,
have a little bit more time for me, Dr.
I
Mark?
have a few more minutes here. Let me just
Okay.
go.
Do
I
you
got to get
mind
you
if
plugged
I?
in. I got to get you
Okay.
plugged in, or else my phone is
Your
gonna.
phone is dying. Okay, so I'm
There
gonna
we
say
go. Okay. Sorry. Now you're going to be in an ugly part of my
it's
basement,
okay.
but
It's all
that's
good.
okay. There
I
you go.
didn't Germany have the highest mortality rate after the vaccine? I'm just.
You know, I don't know what see the issue there is in terms of we are not seeing mortality related to the actual vaccine. I think what we're talking about here are are looking at if you have people in a population and you go and do vaccination, um, on any given day, a certain number of people who are over the age of 70 are going to die, just like even under the age of, and here I'll give you an example. In the United States, we investigate every death that occurs. So someone I can't give you details obviously because I don't there's patient confidentiality issues, but just an example. So a young person dies a couple days after the vaccine. So you think, oh my gosh, it could be the vaccine. We go do a thorough investigation, and it turns out that unfortunately, it's very sad. The person actually committed suicide. So if you just look at the death, you don't know actually what happens. Um,
Let me ask you a question. Is there
so
a
we see
checks
things
and
like that.
balances? Is there a checks and balances on the FDA's investigation? Like, do you have, like there's an internal investigation in a police department that's not cops? You know what I'm saying? Is there such a thing for the
We
FDA?
we are these investigation of deaths are done mostly by state and local health departments, and they pass the data along to us. So
And
we're not actually
do
doing.
you like check what they're doing to see that what they're not giving you is something that is accurate? Like, do you do checks and balances on that?
That's a really good question. Do we actually source? We look at we make sure that the data are consistent. And I suppose that if we ever saw data that was not consistent, we would try to, because we do see that sometimes, we try to resolve that. So my guess is that if somebody was trying to pull the wool over our eyes on a large basis, we would see it.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
I mean,
I'm just,
I guess I can't say that we go and we go. It's not like we have
I mean, because
CSI and we go out and investigate every
every
one of these.
government institution has sort of somebody hired that like sort of checks on them. So the question is, you're checking on the health organization, right? That's out there and then that's giving you the data, and nobody's checking to really see if their data is correct. So there's no double checking that.
I guess let's put it this way. For the health, there's there are a variety of cross checks that can be done by looking at medical records. And I suppose if we saw something that didn't look right, we would investigate further. In terms of the clinical trials, the data that went into the clinical trials, just to circle back there,
Yeah.
we do check. We go out and we investigate, and a certain percentage, and it's not an insignificant percentage of the records, we go through and make sure that they are right. In other words, that what is in the record for the clinical trial matches what was written by the doctor in the
Is that
chart,
an on the
et cetera.
ground check or is it like, paper pushing type of check?
That's boots on the ground going to the site, even
Okay.
during COVID-19. Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want to know. Okay, so Dr. Marks, I appreciate this greatly. There is about 87 questions that have come up that are not on my papers. I'm not going to make you go through all of them, but do you mind if I pick like one or two now for you to
No
answer?
problem. Why don't you go
Okay.
ahead and do that, and then that's probably
Then I'll
perfect.
let
Yeah.
you give the phone back to your son. I will tell you before I get those questions, I am beyond appreciative. I have learned quite a bit. I have actually, I'm so happy that I did this with you, and I really appreciate your time. And thank you.
I really appreciate your good questions, and I respect differences of opinion are I think they're okay, and I think that it's a good dialogue to have and to continue having. So why don't I take your other questions? And I really
Okay, so
appreciate
let's
your
see, because
having
I
me.
can't really see these questions. I'm just gonna like pick at random. So hopefully they're not horrible, but let's
Okay.
see. Question, can you, okay, sorry, this one I did. Okay, that was a bad question. Hold on.
Okay.
Because it had something to do with me, guys. Oh, shoot, because now I don't know how to take off this question. Okay, let's pick another one. Okay, hold on. I might have just lost it. Hold on. All right, somebody's asking me a question now. Life insurance companies are not paying if anything happens. Some policies, nothing at all. Some if something happens, what amount of time of days get, I don't know. Okay, so, how do we answer that if life insurances now are not accepting, like they're not giving you the insurance? I think they have you after getting vaccinated, there's like 30-day, like you have to wait. Why,
Wow.
if the
Yeah.
vaccine is okay, why are life insurance, what do they know that we don't know? Is
Yeah,
the question.
I don't know. Honestly, that one is I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what that story's about. That's the
Okay.
first time I've heard of that one.
Okay, so that seems
There's something I don't know about there because
okay.
I wouldn't think you would be at any higher risk than anything else.
So it's just a glitch in the system. We're saying, okay, hold on one
Well, I
second.
don't know. I
Okay, I'm sorry.
sorry,
Hold on.
that
I'm
one I
gonna
can't
try.
answer. I don't know
Okay,
why.
hold on. I'm trying to get you going. I just don't see what these questions are. Okay, so this is, I think you might have answered it. If it's so safe, why doesn't the FDA actually approve the vaccine, not just making an emergency authorized?
That's a great question. Thank you
Okay.
for that question. That just has to do with the fact that the companies, all of the companies that have these emergency use authorizations are required to come in with the required paperwork to get a license application, and it's just a matter of taking the time. It takes a long time. These applications require a lot of specific data, information about the manufacturing. They require multiple inspections in various aspects. And in the middle of the pandemic, it just takes a little time to get those done. I suspect, though, that we will see in the next couple months the first of the applications to come in. So you're absolutely right. We in our guidance, we told people that if you come in for this emergency use authorization, you had better be ready to come in for a biologics license application so we have an approved vaccine. And so what will happen over the course, probably the next 6 to 9 months, is you'll start to see a transition from emergency use authorization vaccines to approved vaccines. It
There's
won't
no
happen
chance
all at
that you
once.
guys will pull a vaccine and not approve it based on the paperwork that's coming in. You're saying like it's basically approved. It's just the paperwork that has to be taken care of.
Yeah. What would happen? Wait a second. What would happen is if it has to meet the approval standard, and we would expect. I have to be honest. I would expect that all of these that we've gotten under emergency use authorization will meet that standard. But there are technical things that also have to be done to meet that standard before we can give it that seal of approval. That have to do with high quality manufacturing consistently.
So we
And
just gave 100 million Moderna shots, and let's say they don't meet the standard. Like, what the heck we're gonna do? It's just not FDA approved. Like it's
yeah,
I don't
you're
get it.
bringing up a very good point. Like, wow, what if they wouldn't approve it after that? So the answer is we have to go through the formal process of making sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and that all the manufacturing information is there that's supposed to be there. So that we know that the vaccine is going to be made consistently over time. And it takes a little time to do that.
And there's no way that they could change the formula once it's approved. I'm asking, like, is there checks and balances of that?
So they're not allowed with biologic products. Once we keep tabs on what they are doing. They're not allowed to do that. If they did that, that would be a violation. Very modest changes are allowed, but those are things like that you would barely notice, right? But any significant change requires FDA's authorization. So,
two more questions. I promise, Dr. Marks.
sure.
I'll take you off. Okay, 1 second. Hold on. Let me see if I can get another one up here. Please be a good question because I don't see them. I'm just picking out. It's literally. Okay, in terms of pregnancy, what about reported miscarriages and fertility? The study was not done on pregnant women, so how do we know it's safe? So I think you answered that,
So yeah, no, just you know, we're following there. For anyone who's been vaccinated, you will notice you can sign up on your cell phone for the VSafe text-based monitoring system. If you answer that you are pregnant, it will ask you if you want to be part of a pregnancy registry. The CDC is following a cohort of thousands of women who are pregnant and looking to see if they have more miscarriages or more adverse pregnancy outcomes than a control group of women who are not vaccinated, which we have both historically and also ongoing right now. And right now, at least, the evidence is that there doesn't seem to be, for all the evidence we have, is that there is no adverse effect on pregnancy. And we'll continue to follow that. And as we have more data, we'll feel more confident in it. But as I say, the most important thing if you're pregnant is to have that conversation with your doctor or healthcare provider to see whether the vaccine is right for you.
Okay, and so I'll make this the last question. Why hasn't there been done studies to prove safety of vaccines with a placebo of saline only? Why did they tell people that they got the placebo also recently? They told. Am I making that up, or that's true?
You mean that they told so the vaccine the trials were generally randomized to either the vaccine, which is the active agent, and they used some of them used a saline placebo, just used the inert ingredients in the vaccine as the placebo, and after people were switched over. After the trial was unblinded, some people decided to switch over after being told they got placebo. So they've gotten vaccinated now. I think that's what you might be referring to. So there
Right.
are some people who have crossed over who got the saline placebo, and that's because it was felt that it's not ethical. Once we have we had several months of data, and we seem to see that the vaccine appears to be effective. It was felt to be reasonable to offer it to those individuals who had participated in the trial. So it's true we won't have.
That's confusing to me. It was ethical before the 6 months, and then all of a sudden 6 months later became unethical.
Well, it became unethical. It became less ethical once you had COVID-19 circulating widely, and you knew that you had a vaccine that could prevent it. So at that point, most of the companies felt it was an ethical imperative to offer the people who had received placebo the chance to get vaccinated. And that's what happened.
Okay, so they told them, because that's unusual. Is that not unusual in a trial test?
Well, you know, it's not that unusual when you have a life-threatening infectious disease like you have a life-threatening disease like COVID-19, and the point is the people who were in the placebo arm, you know, some of those people got in some of the trials, not in all of them, some of them got life-threatening COVID and died. Okay, so it was felt that, you know, after this, you know, after they'd given months of their time, it was only fair that they get the benefit of the vaccine by vaccinating them.
Right.
So that's the point there.
I have one last question that people are pushing me to say. Dr. Zelenko and his hydrochloroquine protocol. Why did the FDA not approve it or pull it off the market when he showed from his data of over 400 people that he treated that did not have to be hospitalized? What's the deal there?
You know, I'm not an expert in the whole hydroxychloroquine issue, but the data that I've seen was not felt to be compelling. And some people who I respect, I'm not the expert in that area, but some people who I greatly respect felt that compared to other treatments like plasma even, or monoclonal
this is before
antibodies.
plasma, but even
but it was compared to other treatments like the monoclonal antibodies and plasma, it just did not, it did not compare.
Yeah,
Even
but
steroids.
it was a drug that was on the market that people are taking for, I mean, it's given out over the counter in South American countries for malaria. Like, why was
Yeah,
it pulled? Like,
but
really,
because
why
it
was it
does
pulled?
have side effects. It does have some side effects,
But
and
when
if
we
you,
do risk
yeah,
reward, you know, and the reward was that many people, right, were doing well on it, and Dr. Zelenko himself had, you know, had given over that data, and I think even President Trump at the time was like for it. It still was such an anti of this, and it
yeah.
seemed
I
kind
guess
of fishy.
the best I can say with that is that the read that I have on those data, and I'm not the be all and end all
I
on
hear you.
this, is that other treatments like monoclonal antibodies, convalescent plasma, even corticosteroids for certain hospitalized patients seem to be much more potent and effective than hydroxychloroquine, which did seem to have an adverse effect. It can have cardiac adverse effects and other adverse effects on people. So
I
that's
mean,
about
do
as
you
far as
believe
I
in
can
the
go on
vitamin
that one.
D, vitamin C regimen? Like, do you believe that as a healthy person, maybe to keep your symptoms down, do you think you should take vitamin D and vitamin C?
So everything I needed to know about this, I can't get crazy about vitamins. Everything I learned about this, my grandmother was a saleswoman at A&S in Brooklyn, okay? And she basically had common sense. You want to stay healthy, you eat right, you get enough sleep, and you live reasonably. So I've lived my life that way. If it makes you feel better to take some vitamin C, be my guest.
Take the
I'm not
vitamin
sure
C.
that it's going
Okay,
to
so I hear
prevent
your answer.
COVID-19.
Okay, so
I
Dr.
think,
Mark, right?
I'm
Okay, so I'm
sorry.
gonna.
I think good healthy living and my grandmother's chicken soup and etc. and is going to be almost as good. But that's just that's not FDA's opinion.
Right.
That's
Okay.
my
I get it.
personal
I hear you. I
opinion.
hear you. And
No
I
one
appreciate
else's.
it. I
Okay.
appreciate it. I feel like I didn't get the exact answer that I wanted to hear, but I'm not going to push you on it because
Okay.
I feel like I don't like there's just because there were a few people who felt that it wasn't a thing. I don't know why they didn't think it merited even any type of study.
Yeah, the hydroxychloroquine, if you look, actually it was studied in kind of a real world evidence fashion, and there were some studies published on that, and I'm aware of those in a couple of medical journals, both in the New England Journal and the Journal of American Medical Association, where they didn't really see an effect. So it was studied, and you can look that up online.
No, I hear you. I mean, Dr. Zelenko, you know, has his real life patients who can swear by it. But okay, I guess that's where the choice is what
You
you
know
want
what?
to
It's
take.
I'm not right now. My most important message to leave you with
Okay, so
is
this is what
consider
I'm going to give you.
vaccination.
Right.
Consider
Okay.
vaccination.
So here, Dr. Marks, I'm leaving you with the last word of what you want to give out there, and I will let you go.
That so first of all, thank you for listening. For those of you who have questions about vaccination, ask them to your provider. You should feel, if you're hesitant, it's okay. Just keep asking questions and make sure you feel like you're getting the answers you need to make an informed choice. I think my hope is that by getting the information you need, that you'll eventually get to a point where you feel comfortable. And it may be that if you don't, even if you can't find your way to being comfortable with this generation of vaccines, when we get to the protein-based vaccines, consider those. But I'm very comfortable with these current vaccines. My family's been vaccinated with them. My extended family's been vaccinated with them. I'm comfortable. And I hope that we are all able to, to get there. And for all of us, just be safe. Okay.
I think that's the real message. Everybody just wants to be safe and healthy, and however way that we choose to get there.
That's
And,
right.
God's help, hopefully, that
Yep.
would be the thing.
Well,
Dr. Marks, it was really a pleasure.
have a
I
good night.
appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much. I'm
Thanks a
sorry for the
lot.
glitches
Take
and things, but
care.
have a great day.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye
great
bye.
night. Good night.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay, 1 second. Ooh, I still have you. Hold on. I'm going to remove you. Okay. Okay, guys. It's 11:05. It's been a day. I'm going to put on the comments for a little bit. I'm begging that it's I'm begging that it should be okay. I must tell you, agree or disagree with Dr. Marks, he was awesome for answering the questions that I put forth. I hope I covered most of it. I must tell you, I barely looked at my papers. Thank God, a whole day I was just writing them and studying them and making sure that I could do this as much as I can. I don't know if I missed any questions. I really don't know. I'm happy I got the Dr. Jelenko question. I hope that people garnered the information that they might have felt like they were missing. I'm not telling you that anything that Dr. Mark says, and he himself says, it's not Torah Messina. You have the choice to do what you feel is best for you. I do believe that he said that you should talk to your doctors. If your doctor believes that you shouldn't take it for whatever reason, that is something that you have to make your own decision on. He does believe that it is something risk reward wise, that the reward is greater than the risk. And he explained all those things. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we just did this, everybody. I'm so happy we did this. And we're going to talk to Dr. Jelenko because there is another side, you know, of things. And I think it was a very, very productive conversation. And those of you who say they still want to get vaccinated, okay, I hear you. I'm not 100% there yet. I'm not 100% there yet, but I will tell you there are some answers that he gave that debunked a lot of things that we hear. And I'm happy that he debunked those because, you know, and again, I, like him, and he said the same thing that I've been touting, I believe that the inherent good that the doctors that are working for the FDA, it's the inherent good of these people. They all have one goal. The goal is that we should be safe, that we should be good. Yes, there are conspiracy theories and stuff out there. And again, I told you, I listened to this whole conversation with these two rabbis, I think one of them was the doctor. I don't have it. I'm going to actually put it onto my story so that you guys could check that out, where he says that you do need to question the dogma and all these things, and that there is, yes, but inherently, you know, there are reasons why the vaccines are good. Okay, let me see what's going on here. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then I'm like on an adrenaline rush, so I don't want to leave right away because I'm going to crash. But I thought that was so great and so awesome. He has to defend his position. He's part of the team that approves it. It will only be valid if he can debate with somebody like Michali. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe it's true because I just don't believe that's true. I believe I asked a lot of the questions that somebody like Michal would ask. I really did. I'm going to try to save the live. I really am. I might not. I'm not going into anything else in this. Okay. Let's see. Okay, you don't feel like he knows all the negatives. It's fine. Yes. Listen, again, everything with a grain of salt. He is the director of the CBR that approves the vaccines, that put it out there. He's on the, yes, everything with a grain of salt. But I do believe he's sincere in what he was telling you and the information that he has. And I don't think he shied away from saying he's not, he did shy away a little bit from the mandate question. I think, you know, I think he inferred that he does not believe it to be, that it's necessary to be mandated. I also believe very clearly that he said that you know, if you feel like you shouldn't rush into getting the vaccine, talk to the ones that you trust, get it, you know, get the information. I think he was very, very clear and fair on that. And that's what you want to hear from a doctor who's not pushing something down your throat and giving you the choice of it and say, listen to the people that you trust. But here I am, a doctor, somebody who's a, you know, a virology hematologist, you know, what he does. And these are what I know. And he talked about the safety of it. He talked about mRNA. He didn't shy away from any of those questions. Okay. All right, guys. This is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. You guys stuck with us. I do believe, that's it. Let me just see here a few more before I turn this off. Hold on. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to sign off. A lot to process. I'm also going to put on a new question box for tomorrow's live at 12 p.m. and 12 in the afternoon. That would be 12 p.m. And there's a whole other perspective. And based on that, hopefully we could all make decisions. But I'm happy about today. I'm thrilled. Phew. Thank you, Hashem. You put the right words in my mouth. I'm grateful. I got the right words in my mouth. I didn't seem like a fool. And I had somebody who really answered as best as I think that he could at the time, answer the questions. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you to come on and be a part of this. So good night, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. And thanks for tuning in. And oh, one more time. Thank you, Zeldy Open and the CPI and, Chaim Levovitz and everybody who made this happen. You are the plasma heroes. And besides that, you are the hero of putting this together. And I am so appreciative. So again, my absolute gratitude. I'm not so good about giving thanks other than to express it, but know that thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Good night, everyone. Love you all. How do you end this live? Okay, I'm going to try to save it. I hope it saves. I really do. I hope it saves.